This is one of those easy mouse reviews, because Razer mice are amazing these days. I can basically skip all the technical side, because as with most mice now, they're seemingly flawless. And Razer have put the time and effort into research and development to make sure their mice are with the best, if not the best in that way. So sensor, latency, all that, all good. Now with so many good mice on the market, why would you choose this one? Ignoring the price, because obviously you have to find something in your budget. I'm just going to try to tell you which mouse is best, then you can find the one you're comfortable enough with buying. Because yeah, mice are getting crazy expensive. But otherwise I think it's going to come down to features, shape, weight and size. For dimensions, the grip width is about 5.7 centimeters, while the length is about 12.4. Multiply the dimensions together gives you 70.68, so the expected weight ratio is 0.77 to 1, as it's only 55 grams. Which is very good if you're after a light mouse. As always, that ratio is just for an idea, don't take it too seriously. Build quality, despite the low weight, seems really solid. No rattles, no creaks or cracks, extremely well made. For button height, so the lower end of the buttons is actually about 1.78 centimeters, which sounds low, but in my experience, it's better to get this measurement at the natural finger point near the wheel, which is 1.97 centimeters. Because what good is low button height if your fingers aren't even there? The length is 12.7 centimeters if you include the flare. I measured to the middle though, because that's technically closer to the actual mouse size. The button flare is just that, flare. Does it help people with extra long fingers? Maybe. But if that's the case, why is the mouse wheel so far back? If you look on other mice, the wheel is about the width of my little finger back from the front. Even the previous Viper is about that. Yet this mouse, which isn't that much bigger, has it back at the width of my index finger. When designing mice, you want to keep the mouse wheel very close to the fingertips. So when we jump into Apex Legends and do tap strafes and wall bounces and all that, we're not having to reach too far back to do the jumps, or too far forward to get back to our trigger button. So the wheel position may actually be based on the claw grippers. But again, there's a lot of extra button room, which is most likely there not for claw grippers. So is this mouse for claw grip or not? I think that wheel position says it's trying to be too many things. Actually, if you move the wheel a bit forward, that's still going to be okay for claw grippers. So yeah, I think it's just a bit too far back. Here it is next to some other mice so you have an idea of the size. And the next important point, what about the shape? And what hand size does it fit? Okay, so if you look at the other Vipers, this one is more like the V2 size-wise, but it's more like the Viper Mini in shape if you look from the side, as they've raised the hump toward the back. The original Viper is a flatter design. They've also reduced the curvature on the sides, making it technically more safe, but also potentially less comfortable. However, given symmetrical designs like the Vipers aren't actually the best for comfort anyway, you could argue that this design is a bit more comfortable. For hand size and grip, I'd recommend palm for under 18 centimeters, as I can barely do it with that hand size. And given that it is a bigger mouse, I'd say fingertip and claw for hands above 19.5 centimeters. As always, this is just a suggestion based on my experience and my 60% rule, which says to find a mouse about 60% of your hand measurements. That's just a base guide though. You need to find what's right for you. I'm just trying to give you a place to start, so you can figure out whether you need to go bigger or smaller, depending on grip and shape of course. They've also cradled the buttons, which after testing a lot of mice, I think that's the way forward, on the right side anyway. It means less chance of holding the right button down with your ring finger by accident if your grip goes on an angle. Anyway, overall the shape is quite safe, with subtle curvature to assist with grip. It could be more comfortable if designed as an asymmetrical mouse, but that's what the Death Adder V3 is for. So it's up to you which one you want. And I'm of the belief that comfort doesn't actually mean better aim. You gotta find a balance. The materials feel better too. This plastic has some texture to it, just enough for grip. Although in a dry winter right now, it feels a little slippery to me on the sides. The shape is good though, so it counters that. It didn't give me an issue while playing. And it's smoother on the buttons where you generally don't need as much grip. You can have a quick overview on the website if you want it, like polling rate 8000 Hz, long battery life, all the usual stuff. But I'm going to skip it because it is on the website. Here's a sound test on the buttons for an idea of the quality. Okay, so there are definitely advantages to optical switches with low latency and no double clicks. However, they still haven't got the sound and feel as good as the mechanical switches. Not that big a deal, but something I hope they can continue to improve. Also, I've noticed a lot of mice are struggling to get switches feeling light and sounding good these days. The shells being enclosed might have something to do with it. If you have holes, maybe the sound can escape, but if you don't have holes, it acts more like a drum. We've had that with the endgame gear mice as well. A quick look through the software, you can change what the buttons do, but considering there's no extra button for custom commands, I wouldn't be changing these. You can change DPI and polling rate up to 8000Hz. To help save battery during general use, you can actually set it to auto switch when in game, so I would actually set this. 500Hz is fine during regular use, so this is a really cool extra feature to have. So I'd set the default to 500, and when in game, I'd use 1000. But you can use higher if you think it is an advantage. I think it's better to just stick with 1000, but at least you can if you want to. It will lower your battery life, so maybe find a balance. Go 4000Hz or maybe even 2000Hz. Then power mode's pretty self-explanatory. Calibration for when you have an issue with tracking on certain pads. Worked fine on mine, so I haven't had to touch this. And dynamic sensitivity. I'd recommend learning to play as raw as possible, but it's there if you want to try it. As for where the Viper V3 ranks, I would say it's better than the Viper V2, which just leaves it up against the Ultralight X, which have insane weight ratios. They're extremely light. Whether you want a lighter mouse or not, that's up to you and your pad preference, but I found lighter is better, especially with the pad I use, so the list is based on weight. The shapes are both really good, actually pretty similar, and that's the only factor other than the tech that I'd really consider to change the rankings. So yeah, the lightest gets the nod. Finalmouse stays on top for now, so technically second, but only because the mouse edge needs different sizes treated as different mice to actually give good results. And really when you get to the top mice, there isn't much separating them, so don't stress about the number too much. They're all amazing, just choose the one that's going to fit your hand size and your preferences. Okay, hope that helps. Thanks to Razer for sending the mouse out to me. All thoughts are my own of course, no bias. Use your links below if you want to help support what I do. Sub, like and share, and I'll catch you in the next.